What is up? Hello, hello. Today was a good day. I took one trade, just one lonely little trade. It was kind of slow day. I don't know. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to take a trade, but we got a setup, so we took it. Looking at the SPY this morning, we're opening in between the pivots, right? So they're up here. We're opening here. Here's one down here. We've got like a weekly level up here. We've got a weekly level down here. I just kind of like, I don't know if I want to take anything in here. But then, I saw this area. And I thought, if we, open and we push up to it and reject the bottom of this range that was set in the pre-market, I would be interested in maybe taking a short if one of my trades, other trades sets up appropriately. And or maybe we would like break into it and maybe we would get a long out of it. I was pretty open to whatever would happen, but that's what I was looking at on the SPY. And then I was also looking at so the stock that I was watching this morning was Wells Fargo was one of them, and when I looked at the financial ETF, what I liked about this was that in the pre-market it was testing S4, and I thought maybe if this pushes up in the morning and SPY rejects that pre-market level, and XLF rejects R3, and we've got this weekly level up here on it as well, then I'd be interested in a short play. So that's kind of what I was looking at, and on Wells Fargo, WFC. Um, so Wells Fargo was setting up very similarly to XLF, right? So we're at S4 in the pre-market, and I have this weekly range level set here. So I'm looking for it to push up, reject the top of this weekly range level and R3, and then take a trade this way. And if I bring it to the weekly chart, take off these pivots so it's easier to see. And if I zoom out, I've set this range on Wells Fargo that's like this, right? So we lost it with the pandemic, and now we've slowly been coming back up to it. We broke back up into the range, and now we're at the top of it. So it's either going to keep kind of rejecting the top of this and just hang out in here, or we're gonna get a breakout. And that's just what I've been looking for on Wells Fargo. And this morning, if I put the pivots back on, and if we go to the 5-minute, you can see that this yellow line, which is that top of that weekly range, is pairing pretty well with R3. So I'm more interested in a short, depending obviously on what the overall market does and the XLF ETF. And they all just kind of lined up, right? So SPY opened, it pushed up, and it rejected that pre-market range. Same thing with XLF and Wells Fargo. They both pushed up. XLF rejected R3, and that was around the time that Wells Fargo was also rejecting R3. So I entered in immediately, but I also knew that there was a weekly range level set on XLF that wasn't too far away. And sometimes what'll happen is it will push past the pivots, it'll go to that range level because it's so close to it, and then it will reverse, or then it will break out. So I went into that knowing that I might not get this super fast move here. There were a couple asks to the top side, and we had that level on XLF, but I wanted to be in case it happened, and I was willing to take the risk that it might squeeze up and then reject back down. So that your risk tolerance comes into play on something like this, right? So my stops are usually 10% of the ATR. This was like a couple pennies over that. I gave it a little bit of room to breathe. And you just got to make sure that like you can enter with like a comfortable risk tolerance, but also a good enough amount that you catch a good profit if it does work out for you. I've played this type of setup enough to know that this kind of thing happens a lot of the time. Not always, and sometimes I'll get the quick move down, but I enter these knowing that this could happen, and I watch to see how it reacts once it gets above these levels. If it was to come down, throw a wick and test it and bounce off of this again, like I know that these levels are holding, and I no longer want to be in a short position. But there were a couple things that needed to get filled here, and it filled some of it, shot down, had to come back up, knock out some more of those asks, and then it was able to push to the downside. So I actually, once I was in this, I entered and I just held. I didn't take any partials. Am I crazy? I might be crazy, but that's okay. I didn't take any partials because I didn't see reasons to take partials. So that's something that's really important, right? Like levels are important. What's happening on the L2 is important. What's happening on the tape is important. And if you don't see like a true reason to exit, just let the stock breathe, right? Let the stock do what it's going to do. If you feel more comfortable taking a partial because you feel like you're able to hold it longer, then yeah, go for it. I've just played these types of trades so much that like I kind of know what I'm looking for. And we got here and we kind of like chopped around a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I might want to get out of this depending on how this moves here. And what happened was the SPY and the financial sector, they bounced and they pushed up pretty fast, and this was just kind of like hanging out. And it wasn't until probably, I don't know, 20 minutes later or something that it kind of started to move. And what I saw was all of a sudden there was an ask on the L2 at 58.45, which is below 58.50. So I'm seeing that as like that's a $0.50, and no one is waiting for it to get above that to get out of their position. So they're putting it below 58.50, and I'm going to see how it reacts there. And when we got up to it, we hit that ask and it just pushed it down. There was no like momentum coming into it to push it above that. So this actually could have been a good place to add into it, but I just didn't want to because I was actually just trying to practice like holding to my target areas. So we got down here to S4, and we're getting really close to the FOMC minutes coming out, right? So like when those come out, the market can go crazy, and like, interest rate mentions and all that stuff, like for a bank stock, we could really get something like this to happen. It could have also gone this way and I could have, made a lot of money off of it, but I just didn't feel comfortable being in it, knowing that those were coming out. And I saw this consolidation happen above S4. And also if you take it to the 60-minute chart here, we can see that there's this area right here, right? So we did break into kind of this more like smaller intraday 60-minute range. And it's really trying to hold it, right? So it's pushed up and now it's kind of like holding above it again. It made it basically to the midline of this, and that's kind of enough for me at that point. Like if it doesn't power through, then there's no reason for me to like keep staying in it. Also the RVOL on this, check this out, is at like less than 50. At one point it was at 39. Like I know a lot of people play stocks that are only 100% and over. I like stocks like that because they'll move quicker, but for my strategy, they don't have to be. And this is a perfect example of that. It just took a really, really, really long time. But yeah, so I, one trade today, and took a while, but yeah, just entered here and exited here and called it a day. Yeah, anyways, hope you guys had a good day, and I'll catch you later. Peace.